What is full stack web development? Let me start by clarifying a few terms so that we start with a common understanding about this area. First, we hear people talking about front end and the back end, or sometimes the client side and the server side. Now, when we talk about front end, we are primarily talking about presenting the data to the users. So this is where the users access the web through the browser. And so we would be using technologies like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to target the end users. The back end is more concerned with the business logic and the data aspect of our web application. So this might be implemented in one of several languages. We often hear people talking about the three-tier architecture for web development and implementation. Now, in this approach, which is a common client-server software architecture pattern, the entire development is divided into three layers. The presentation layer, which is concerned with UI-related issues and how to present the data to the end user. Then we have the business logic layer, which is more concerned with data validation and processing the data in order to generate information for the users. And then we have the data access layer, which deals with data persistence and storage of data behind the scenes, for example, in a database. Exploring this further, let's look at what is implemented in each of these three layers in more detail. Now, the business logic layer is typically implemented traditionally in a server where we use languages like Ruby, Python, C++, Java, or ASP.NET to implement the server. This server in turn is talking to a backend database management system to exchange data, and in turn will be generating the front-end display of data to the user by server-side rendering of the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. This has been the traditional approach that has been used successfully in web development. Now, in this approach, we need specialists in each of these three layers. So you have a front-end specialist who would be well-versed in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then you have the back-end specialists, one who would be well-versed in server-side implementation, say, for example, one of the languages used for server-side implementation. And then you would have a data specialist who would be mostly concerned with the data basis and data persistence aspect of our web development. There is an increasing trend towards full stack web development where a single language is used for implementation over the entire stack. So you could be having the front end implemented as a single page application using one of the JavaScript frameworks like AngularJS. Then the server side could be implemented using technologies like Node.js and Node.js modules, which again depends on JavaScript. And then the data access or data storage part implemented using technologies like MongoDB, which works based on storing JSON data and serving up information in the form of JSON data. Now, JSON has become the standard format for data interchange among the three layers. Server side increasingly is delivering a REST API so that you can target multiple platforms through the REST API. So essentially, the server is serving up data in the form of JSON, which can then be rendered either on a standard web browser or on a mobile device using one of the multi-platform hybrid mobile application development environments. So In this particular specialization, we are targeting the entire stack. We'll look at HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and then we will look at web UI development using Bootstrap. Then we'll look at front-end JavaScript frameworks like AngularJS. Then we'll look at Node.js and Node.js modules, and also review backend as a service, and also review data support through MongoDB on the server side.